Hello and welcome to HR Training Resources. My name is Jackie Linebarger, Director of Human Resources Administration. This training will focus on Section 2 of the I-9 form and your role as the person who certifies it. Our objectives for this module are as follows. We will walk you through Section 2, which is where you attest under penalty of perjury that the information on the form is true and valid. We will cover E-Verify, what that is and what you need to do, and end with links to resources that you can turn to if you have any question at all on whether or not something that has been entered is acceptable. Now let's look at Section 2, which is the section you need to complete. This section must be completed within 3 business days of the employee's hire date. This is the second most common error that we see in the I-9 forms that are submitted to HR. For a variety of reasons, the person in the department who is responsible for certifying the I-9 does not get it done within the 3-day business limit from the employee's date of hire. The reason we hear most often is that the employee did not bring the correct documentation with them in order to certify the form. In order to prevent this error, you need to be proactive and tell all new hires in advance of their first day that they will be completing the I-9 form on their first day of employment, and they must bring documentation that is acceptable and valid. However, it is against the law to require the employee to bring a specific form, such as a Social Security card or a driver's license. In order to be proactive with this, we strongly suggest that you provide every new hire with the list of acceptable documents prior to their first day of employment, and suggest that they contact you or HR if they have any questions about what to bring. If they do not have the correct documents on day 1, let them know they only have 2 more days to get you the correct documents. If they have lost their Social Security card, they can go to the Social Security Administration office and request a replacement, and the receipt will work for temporary proof. More on that shortly. Examine the documents the employee has provided. You are attesting on this form under penalty of perjury that the forms are original and valid, so make sure you look them over carefully. If you have any questions about the appropriateness of the document, contact Colton Thomas in HR at ctmartin@uark.edu. As I mentioned in the last slide, if an employee has lost or misplaced their Social Security card, they can go to the Social Security Administration office and apply for a replacement. The receipt they receive from the SSA may be used as temporary proof, but only for employment eligibility, not for identity. The receipt must be issued by the issuing authority, in this case it would be the SSA, and the employee must submit the replacement document as soon as they get it, and not later than within 90 days of their hire date. If they go beyond that date, the document becomes invalid. When you certify the I-9 in Section 2, you will enter the document information, including the document title, issuing authority, and the document number. If there is an expiration date, you will enter that as well. One of the great features of the revised form is that there are drop-down lists for the acceptable documents and the appropriate issuing authority. This takes the guesswork out of filling in these sections and will greatly reduce the number of errors going forward. So now let's look at the form and the areas you will need to complete. Again, here is the form, and we're going to go down to Section 2, which is the area you, as the employer or authorized representative, review and verify. But before we fill in our section, I want to go down to the list of appropriate documents or acceptable documents. This is the list that you can supply to your new hire prior to their first day of employment so they know what they can bring. Notice on the form there are 3 columns, List A, List B, and List C. If the employee brings a document from List A, that verifies both their identity and their employment authorization. So you would only need one document from List A. Otherwise, they need to supply one document from List B, which will verify their identity, and one document from List C, which will verify their employment authorization to work in the United States. So we are going to enter a document in List B, but notice I can't enter anything right now. That's because at the top of the form, I need to enter their last name and first name and their citizenship status. So we're going to enter our employee's name, first name, middle initial, and their citizenship status has a drop-down box, and they were number 1, which was citizen of the United States. Now that lined up the appropriate documents that we can choose from. So now there are drop-down lists that apply to that citizenship status. Now we can list the employee's document title, which is the driver's license, and the issuing authority. They live in Oklahoma, and the document number, expiration date, okay, and the oops, wrong year, not 2107. See how it's nice that they have the fix-it. All right, for this column, we're going to use the Social Security card, which is unrestricted, no restrictions on their employment eligibility. Issuing authority is Social Security Administration. Document number, again, I put in a fake Social Security number, and there is no expiration date on that. So as far as the document information, that is all you need to enter. The next thing that is their hire date, and this is super important. It has to be the correct date. So we are listing today as their hire date. Then this is where you will sign and put today's date. This date has to be within 3 days of the employee's hire date, okay? Then you will put your title, whatever it is. And your last name, first name, employer's business, and here you can put the address of the admin building. And the zip code. Okay, and that is it. That's all you need to do to finish your portion. So click to finish. Now it checked it and everything's fine. And then you have to print it so that you can sign and date. So that's it. That's it for your section of the form. And I'm not going to save those changes. As I mentioned before, some of the most common errors on I-9 forms is that the employee does not complete the form on or before their hire date. They enter their birth date instead of the date signed, and or the person who's certifying the form does not get it done within 3 days of the employee's hire date. If there are any errors on the form, HR will notify you, and you will need to write and submit a memo to HR explaining why it is late. Also, it's very important that your name is on the document as the one who certified it, and any fines that might be incurred if we were audited are not charged to HR, they will be charged to your department. All the more reason to be very careful when completing the form, and ensuring that both deadlines are met. The employee completes, signs, and dates the form on or before their hire date, and the department rep certifies the form within 3 days of the employee's date of hire. U of A participates in E-Verify. Every I-9 must go through the E-Verify process. It's fast, easy, and free. You will get a case number once the process is completed. The case number must be entered on the I-9 form within 3 business days of the employee's hire date. If you're not already set up on E-Verify, contact HR at 479-575-5351 and we will get you set up. You will get an email with your ID and a temporary password. There will be a link to training. Take the training immediately, then log on and set up your new hire as a new case. You will use the information you've collected on the I-9 form to fill in the info requested through E-Verify. Once you get the results, enter the case number on the form. That's it, you're done. To finish up your part of the process, make copies of the I-9 documentation and give the originals back to the employee. Then submit the I-9 form and the copies of the documents to HR. The fastest, safest way to do this is via Dropbox. That way, the forms do not go through the email system. Once you have submitted the I-9, the form and the copies should be shredded. Do not retain copies of I-9s in the department. Only University HR retains I-9 forms. That's it. Now you know how to certify I-9 forms without error. Here are just a few reminders. After the employee has accepted the offer of employment, provide them with the list of acceptable documents and let them know that they must have those documents with them on the first day of employment. Have the new hire complete Section 1 after the offer of employment and on or before their first day of work for pay. Photocopy the documents they provide and submit them along with the form to HR via Dropbox. Here are a few things to remember to avoid. Don't insist that your new employee present any specific document. Again, provide them with the list of acceptable documents and let them choose which one they want to present. Don't reproduce the I-9 with different size text or copy onto letterhead. As mentioned before, all I-9 forms should be forwarded to University HR and not retained in the department. We will ensure they are retained according to the law and are not retained completely separate, and that they are retained completely separately from any personnel file information. And finally, here are some resource links that will help you with any questions you might have. Thank you very much.